Life is a winding road.
Well, good morning. My name is Alan, and this is my beautiful, awesome wife, partner in crime, Yolanda. I call her Yoli. But anyways, this is a beautiful morning, and we're going to talk about boats. And we're going to talk about boats doing the Great Loop, and we're going to be doing it on gooder days. So let's get after it. Well, it's about 7 a.m. here at the marina. And today I'm talking about buying a boat for the loop. So if you're looking for a loop boat, it took us 2 years to find this boat that we have here. And when you're looking at a boat for the Great Loop, you got to ask yourself a lot of questions. What do you like? There's a lot of boats out there for fast trawlers, slow trawlers, single engine, double engine, sailboat even. But most people go towards the trawlers, the tugboats. And it's simply because they're lower cost, lower maintenance, easier to handle. And oh, I've got a spider web hanging off of this one. I'm breaking spider webs going down the dock here. So when it comes to picking a loop boat, what we looked at 2 years ago after we went to the AGLC, we just went on a bunch of boats. And that's really simple as it is, because I feel that if you're going to buy a boat to basically live on for several months out of the year, you got to be comfortable on it. So what you need to do is just go get on a bunch of boats, because what you or your spouse wants as a boat probably might be two different things. So me, as a guy, I want something that's easy to work on and maintenance free and all that. My wife, she wants something that's comfortable, air conditioning and lots of space. So we went to the AGLCA rendezvous about 2 years ago in Paris Landing. And what we did was we just went on all these boats on the looper crawl. And we went on tugboats and trawlers, we went on Rangers, and of course the main ship is the most popular. But the problem we had with the main ship was it was just too small. We like a little bit more space. So we're used to RVing, where we've got the slide outs and everything. Haven't seen a slide out on a boat yet. But anyways, we fell in love with that 411, as I mentioned in the other video. And the 411's built by Meridian, and we just like the sedan bridge. Because when you're looking at motor yachts versus trawlers, you got to decide, do I want a lower helm, an upper helm? Do I want more space? And so when you're looking at a motor yacht like a Meridian or a Carver or a Silverton, those boats are motor yachts, and they usually have big engines so they can go fast. So when you're looking at boats, you want to go fast, and yeah, I like to go fast. I like to outrun a storm if I need to, but they'll cruise just fine. So when we were looking, we really kept going back to that 411, and we started looking all around the country. We actually, in the RV, we were traveling around. We saw 441 up in Champaign, up in New York, and we just fell in love with that boat. And so that's kind of been the bar, looking at the Meridian 441. We looked at Carvers. And the other thing about boats, when you decide, okay, I want a motor yacht, do you want an aft cabin or do you want, a sedan bridge? An aft cabin is the one that's got the bedroom in the back. So the trade-offs are like, yeah, nice big walk-around bed that my wife likes. But the problem with that is you got stairs to climb. And so when you're climbing stairs, it's just a lot of work. As we get older, we don't want to climb stairs. So we kind of made that decision where it's going to be a sedan bridge. And the sedan bridge is basically like you walk on it at the dock level, and then you walk right into the salon. So we love that. So we made up our mind pretty early that we didn't want a trawler, didn't want a tugboat, even though those have great points, being able to walk around them and very efficient. We decided we want the comforts of a motor yacht, and we want the speed of a motor yacht should we want to outrun a storm. So we narrowed it down to a motor yacht, and then we looked at several aft cabins because my wife wanted a walk around bed. But really, when it come down to it, we just didn't want the stairs. And so we narrowed it down to a sedan bridge. So we looked at Silverton, Carver, and we looked at Meridian. Still, again, the Meridian 411 was the one we really liked. And we saw the one at Champlain. We saw one actually in Dominican Republic when we were down there. And the next thing we found out is these Meridians, a lot of these Meridians have pod drives. And I'm not doing pod drives because of the expense and the maintenance. Even if you had the money, if you tore one up, what a pod drive is you've got this nice complex pod drive transmission down in the water that does all these wonderful things. But if you hit something and you run aground, it could cost you $50,000 in a month in the shop just to get it fixed. So not having that. So I decided I got to have straight shafts. So that's kind of why it took 2 years. We were looking at 411s and 441 Meridians, and also the Carver 504 and some of those. But anyways, the Meridian 441 with shaft drives is what we decided on, and we finally found one in Florida. And so that was the process that we went through in looking at boats. So what I would say is, number one, before you think of what you want, just go get on a bunch of boats. You know, go to a marina, but the best thing is go to the AGLCA and go to one of the rendezvous and go to the looper crawl, and you can probably get on 20 or 30 different boats, and they have these things twice a year. So check it out. It's called greatloop.org, and you can see when the next rendezvous is. Now, the next rendezvous that we're going to is going to be down in Orange Beach at the wharf. And that's going to be, I think, November 17th through 20th, 2025. So get down there. We'll have our boat there. You can see it, but you can see all kinds of boats. So be there for that. And then decide which one feels comfortable to you. And then go from there. And then just go see a lot of boats. We saw a lot of bad boats. We went to Florida and a lot of them were rusted out and just weren't worth it. So just keep looking until you find one that's in your price range, that has the floor plan and the options you like, and then just go for it. And that's what we did. So we bought our boat this year, and we're planning on doing a loop in November. And between now and then, it's going to be all about boat projects. So every boat is going to need work, and you just got to decide how much work do you want to do and what has to be done. So number one is got to service the engines, make sure the engines are good. So oil changes, belt changes, cooler change, whatever you need to do, whatever the service needs, make sure you check it out. And also get to know your engine, because when you're out there in the water, whether it be in the ICW or crossing the ocean of the Bahamas, something goes wrong, you need to be able to climb down the engine room and figure out what it is, because nobody's going to come rushing to your help. Unless you're in a flotilla, that can possibly work. But anyways, what I would do is get to know your boat, and that's what we're doing. So we've got the boat this summer up on the Tennessee River. We actually took it from Fort Myers up to Tennessee, and that'd be a video on itself, just talking about how we got it there with a few friends. But we basically did 1,000 miles, 100 hours in about 14 days, taking the boat from Fort Myers. So you get to know how the boat runs, but you don't know the systems, you know, the water systems, the drainage systems, the generator, the water pumps, and all that stuff. So you really need to know where that stuff is on your boat. And so don't buy a boat thinking you're going to run out and do the loop. So what you need is 6 months to a year, really, on that boat to understand the systems, know what's going on. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're spending basically June through November on the boat here in Tennessee and doing projects. We're going to be servicing the engines, what they call a 1,000-hour service, which is going through the after coolers, the fuel coolers, the gear oil coolers, and changing all the fluids, so checking all the belts and making sure they're working. But also some other creature comfort things like the canvas. The canvas was fogging over, it had some cracks in it, so we're putting new canvas enclosure all around the boat. We also put some sea deck, some foam padding up around the fly bridge. We're also going to upgrade the electronics, and so the electronics are going to be, you know, moved from Garmin. So that'd be another good video too about, you know, what electronics do you need for the Great Loop. But this boat came with Ray Marine electronics, and they're about 13 years old, and they still work, but the data cards are outdated, so it needs new data cards, and also the radar wasn't working, so it needs a new radar. So I decided I would like the Garmin, so I'm going to rip all the Ray Marine out and go all Garmin. Also, you got to have a dinghy, so I had to buy a dinghy to put on the back of the boat. And I'm going to say you don't have to have a dinghy. Some people have done the loop without the dinghy, but I just felt it was a little bit easier when you're anchoring out if you want to run to shore. We don't have a dog, you know, to take to shore, but we might someday. My wife's feeling awful lonely since I got this boat. So me doing projects on it, I'm afraid I'm going to go home one of these times and we're going to have a dog. And if she's really lonely, we may end up with 2 dogs. So we'll see about that. So I got to get home often to make sure that we don't have any 4-legged furries running around. But anyways, if you do have a dog, you're going to probably need a dinghy to run back and forth from shore to the anchorage to let the dog out. Just a minute. It's coffee time, so I love having a walk on the docks and do coffee. So when it comes to buying a boat, it's really about being comfortable on a boat. It's about, go out on a bunch of boats and see what you like. And then it's finding it. Once you narrowed it down, we want a trawler, or we want a single engine, we want a dual engine, or we want a motor yacht, or we want an aft deck, or an aft cabin, or do you want a sedan bridge? Do you want a fly bridge? Do you have to have a lower helm? Our boat doesn't have a lower helm, so we have to steer it from above. But what I like about the 441, it's a hard top, air conditioned up top, and so you can, drive it in any condition up there. So it's not like you're out in the wide open. So if you only have a helm upstairs and it's totally open, you better think again, because the weather on the loop could get pretty rough or rainy, or you might get caught in fog, and it's just better to have an enclosure that you can see out of, because some of the enclosures you can't see out of. They don't have windshield wipers. So there's a lot of things to think about, but hopefully this will give you a little thought on why we picked our boat and why you should pick a boat that's good for you, because everybody loves their boat. At least I think so. When I talk to them, they love their boat. But then again, they picked it with what they had as their priorities in line. So go out, find the boat of your dreams, and get after it. Let's go to the loop.
Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know if I'll ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head.